You wanted to work with, or were you assigned?
Yes. So we're assigned to do a Chekhov, we're assigned to do a Shakespeare, but we get to pick the pieces.
And was there like a particular reason that you chose certain pieces over the other ones?
I think I picked Seagull, if I'm remembering correctly, because I knew it best. I just had the most experience with it. So I think that felt like it would be an advantage to knowing the material better than the other plays that he's written. And we do read them all in class, but I think if I'm remembering, we decided before we had actually read through all of them in class. So we had to read them on our own and consider them and decide. And Romeo and Juliet, I was between that and doing the Scottish play.
Oh.
I was between those two, and because I knew I was doing Sweeney Todd for my thesis, I felt like the Scottish play was too much within that vein, and I hadn't really done a romance at all while I was in school. So my professor, Brian Kulick, was encouraging me. When I gave him the options, I said, I'm deciding between these two, but these are the pros and cons. And he said, I haven't seen you do a romance. I think you should do that because that would be different than the other projects you've gotten to work on. So
if you walk into a bar after
I never do.
I want to just free my brain for a second. And then there is sitting Chekhov and Shakespeare and Sondheim. Which one do you go to first?
Sondheim. I would go to Sondheim for sure.
What would you tell him?
I just get on the floor and start.
I did your Sweeney Todd.
Yeah. Please watch my video, Sweeney Todd. No, I mean, I know his canon of work the best. I am at my heart, a musical theater lover. So as much as I enjoy doing Chekhov and I enjoy doing Shakespeare, I could live without doing those. I don't think I can live without doing musical theater, specifically Sondheim. I couldn't let that go, and I think I'd also have the most questions and the most frame of reference in terms.
What would you ask him about Sweeney Todd? What would the first question you would ask him about Sweeney Todd?
I would ask him to watch my production of Sweeney Todd, and I want to hear everything that he has to say. I'd want to hear all of his thoughts.
But which part of so let me then rephrase that.
I want his notes, really. I mean, he's so smart, I'd want to know what he thinks
about your version. Okay, so you chose that piece for your thesis. This is super important.
Yes,
super important. What was the essence? Okay, let me put it this way then. What was the essence and what was the core of Sweeney Todd that made you choose that for your thesis? Because thesis is the most important thing to finish your program.
Yeah. Before going to grad school, there was a period of time where I was doing more new works or revising works, looking at shows that deserved a second life and trying to bring life back into them and give them another moment to shine. Whereas Sweeney Todd, the Seagull, Romeo Juliet, I mean, these are regarded as iconic masterpiece works. So I think as a director, I started to trust myself more that I can work on the great pieces and still bring something to them, still approach them in a new way in my own artistic voice. So I knew that I wanted to work on something that I considered to be the best of writing. So I compiled a list of and I knew I wanted to do a musical, of course. So I compiled a list of musicals. That was, one of the top.
That was okay.
It was one of the top. So out of that, then I started to think about each of these shows, and two things. One, what did I feel was going to be the most exciting to explore in this current moment in time? And also something that we haven't talked too much about, but just logistically, how would I make the best use of the resources that I knew I had to work with within the program, which I think is something that, like for with the Seagull and Romeo and Juliet, we were in black boxes with very little stuff, right? Those were very, very bare bones productions. And so that posed exciting challenges in terms of how I wanted to approach the work, because there are no wings, there's no entrance and exit points, there's no rules about where the audience sits or what our relationship is to the audience. So we were moving them around in Romeo and Juliet and having them be a part of the experience and shifting the seating and having the actors come from all around, whereas the Seagull was much more proscenium style, but really using the depth of the room, and everyone was on stage the entirety of the time because there was nowhere to enter and exit from. So those logistical facts inform how I am going to approach it, because I'm also trying to make the most of what I have to work with in my resource bank of a particular production. So I also knew that if I was deciding between Sweeney Todd and A Little Night Music is about aristocrats, and it's about, it's about sex and it's about intimacy, but it lives in this world of glamour and opulence that is very difficult to achieve in the space in which I knew we would be working in, with the limited resources that I know we would have to offer. And I knew that the ideas I already had percolating about Sweeney Todd would be achievable within those constraints.
I see. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Did you cast everybody you cast your project on your own, right? You don't have a casting director. What is the element and what is the most thing that you are looking for in your actors to work with? Is there a particular, besides the talent obviously, and besides everything that is perfect for the role, is there any particular element that would determine the way that you do your casting?
I think you're always balancing, or at least I'm always balancing out someone's innate qualities that they bring to a role, which just feel right for how you're imagining this character. And that's typically something that lives organically in a person. It's qualities that they naturally possess. And then the skill set of text, dramaturgically, their understanding of the text, their ability to psychologically inhabit these characters, their emotional availability. So it's sort of weighing all of those factors for me, and sometimes seeing somebody who's brilliantly skilled, but knowing that that there's something that they possess within themselves that is not quite overlapped enough with how I'm envisioning that character, that it would be working too hard to try and help them strip themselves of things that they naturally carry with them, which are gifts in other roles for this role. But sometimes it is the right choice. So it's just sort of weighing the options of who you have and what they bring to the table. I think it's a process. It's a challenging process, and it takes a lot of time. So giving the process as much time for me is always super helpful, because I think when you start to feel like you are under pressure and you're reaching towards the deadline if you need to figure out and settle on who you're casting, you can start to make decisions that, because you have to make them quick, that are not totally informed. But you're really analyzing each person. You know, you have to take the time to analyze each person's skill set.
But is it analyzing based off their like self tapes, or you don't really meet these people? Most of them you don't really know. It's based on the self tape these days.
Yes. Yeah, I watch a video first, and then I might do in-person callbacks if there's time. Like for Sweeney, I knew about the show so far in advance, so I held a lot of rounds of callbacks for
sure.
that
I can believe that.
Yeah.
So let's just imagine the blank canvas, and you want to do your next project.
Mm-hmm.
So you choose your project, correct? You choose what you want to work on.
Yes.
And then you do the casting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And what else in that kind of production would you do yourself besides directing, casting, and choosing the project?
Well, staging, you know, the directorial responsibilities within the rehearsal process.
And which one do you think is the most challenging for you?
Ooh.
That requires a lot of just leave me alone time so I can decide.
The most challenging for me, I think the editing process can be very challenging.
Editing on stage.
Yeah, like once you've staged something and you've worked it through with the actors, and then seeing it, and then having to look at it and remove your own bias from the fact that you helped create this, and assess it honestly with yourself, and then go, that's actually not working. I think sometimes I feel inside that that moment didn't quite work, or that staging could be better, but you're sort of holding on for hope sometimes that it will, or it will work itself out. And it's, so again, listening to yourself and going, I'm feeling that just a little tinge of something, and I should force myself to speak up and say something and take another look at it. And sometimes I found that when you do that, people are like, oh yeah, that felt super weird, right? Or oh, that yeah, something about that moment isn't working for me either. And then you're in conversation with.
So you don't basically bring somebody else, another person's validation into your final edit? Or
sometimes I bring people in to come watch like a run through of the show and get their thoughts. And that can be affirming in terms of moments that you've thought maybe aren't quite right yet, but you haven't been totally sure. And they might say, oh, you have to look at that because, and then you're like, oh my God, you're so right. You're totally right. But I think for me, at least in terms of my process, I have to get through the whole show before I do that, and like do a pass through it once already, because sometimes people will say, oh, well, why are you doing that? And I know that it makes sense because I know on page 100, this thing is going to happen, and this is going to be some sort of reflection of that moment, or it's going to be dramaturgically connected in some way. So I think having too many opinions and ideas and thoughts from the outside of the group early on it can put you in your head, and it can be not helpful. I think I prefer to make and work with the cast and build something, and the designers to build something up. And then once I have something that is complete and I am ready for someone to share their thoughts, then I can fully receive what they have to say.
Do you ever judge yourself in this process?
Yeah, I think you have to. I think you have to, in order to edit, you have to be able to remove yourself from it and watch and judge it and go, the staging for that scene isn't great.
Wait, right? Could you elaborate on that? Okay, this was brilliant. Remove yourself from it. So could you put it in concept for us?
Sure.
How do you remove yourself and judge yourself?
You have to be very honest with yourself.
Okay.
I find it's easier to do that when I'm watching it in full, when I'm watching the show in full and I am sitting with a notebook.
Okay.
And then I can take notes. Some people give their notes to like an associate or somebody else and they write them down. But I know that I will be more honest with myself in my notebook than I will be with the person sitting next to me. So I don't have an I think being in that sort of space where you are free to think and watch and observe and you're not hearing other people distracting you from with their opinions or what they think or this and that, and then you can just sort of form your own opinion, then usually what I end up writing down, like I don't lie to myself, but then you have to follow through. You have to actually give the note, or you have to take the note yourself and say, okay, I have to look at the staging for that because that wasn't great, or I didn't quite get this moment here. And then if you can't find it, then definitely I'm going to other people to say something I'm missing in this moment. I don't know what it is. I can't figure it out. And see if there's any, smart people who have some insight to offer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So according to my,
I don't know. Did that answer your question?
For
sort
sure.
of?
Absolutely. So you brought something very interesting up. I don't lie to myself. So what is the process of creating this authentic, true relationship with oneself
Mm-hmm.
to do such amazing work and to be able to lead a lot of people? That's what you do. You lead a lot of people you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You work in, most of these rehearsals can be chaotic. Like nobody knows what they're doing. You have to lead all these people. It's so much pressure, and the quality of your work is very high. So your work is, the quality has scale.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. That I noticed that. And it's so much pressure, so much thinking and leadership, and I'm not going to use the word controlling, but in a way you are controlling the rhythm of the flow.
Yeah.
You have to have such powerful control over your own self,
Mm-hmm.
and such deep connection with your true self to be able to master all these things, right?
I think so.
Did you always have that, or did you create that, or did you learn that?
I think it evolves. It evolves over time. It evolves from experiences of looking back on a project and going, that went really well, but this didn't go that well. I think post reflection is very important.
Post reflection after like a
After
project is done.
after you do a project, to like really look back and go, what really worked here? What went really well? What didn't work well? And sometimes what didn't go well can be very painful and it can be hard to deal with,
How do you deal with that?
Therapy.
Good.
Yeah, therapy, or sometimes it's also recognizing, I think for me, I can't speak for everyone, obviously, who's in the field of directing, but at least for me, I feel responsible for everything. And I don't remove any responsibility from myself. So if something didn't go well and I think, oh, that was something that the music department did, or that's something the choreographer did, then I am not holding myself responsible, which is my job as the director, as the person who is overseeing the entire creative process of the show, that somehow I must have done something, even if it's not fully my fault, within those collaborations that did not work or did not go well, right? So maybe I don't want to work with that person ever again, potentially, or maybe I only want to work with that person under certain conditions regarding time to work on the show, or whatever the variables might be. I also need to think about moving forward when I work with somebody else in that position. What can I do to help mitigate that? Or what can I say to help support that person more so that they can do their best work? So I'm someone who tends to blame myself more, but so I also have to go, okay, look, this wasn't like completely on you. This element of it maybe wasn't that successful, but it wasn't entirely you, but it also was, it always is partially your actions and the way you communicated or the way you responded to something. So I'm always thinking about what can I do, and then what is sort of out of my control, and recognizing that and just letting it go and knowing, okay, for next time, this is how I'm gonna handle it, and hopefully that is going to resolve some of those issues.
Embracing the challenge, finding the best way to deal with that.
Because it's people, it's relationships, I mean, I think also making sure, as I was talking about the casting process and taking a lot of time, that's also really important. And part of it is that you're creating a culture of people in a room that are going to work together. So if you have one bad egg, they will ruin the whole experience. And it also spreads really fast. So if that person has skepticism or a bad attitude or is taking up a lot of time, and I'm having to negotiate, making sure everybody else feels like they have time to do what they need, that can spread really fast amongst the group. So now it's not one person, it's 5 people, it's 6 people, because they're adopting each other's behavior and they feel permission that they can also do what that person is doing. So I try to build a group of collaborators where I can see that everybody is in it for the right reasons and connected to their own work and what they're doing, and that they're going to work hard, and they are also going to be open to trying new things. That's huge in the callback process for me, is asking people to try material different ways and seeing who's flexible and who's willing to divorce themselves from ideas that maybe exists in other productions, and know that this is going to work, this collaboration between the two of us, that they're open to receiving what it is that I want to focus on, and also that they are going to be able to inspire me to do more exciting work as well. So it's just like dating. It's like you're dating everybody and you're seeing if you like everybody, right? And if it work and we're like on the same page, and sometimes it's not. And this person's amazing, they're super talented, but this version of what they want to do with this character is not gonna jive with where we're going with this, and we're on different pages, and that's okay.
We're not gonna go on a second date anymore.
Right. And when you rush into those things, that's when you end up in a bad relationship, and you go, oh, why did I get with this person? This was never gonna work, blah, blah, blah. Right. And now it's like you're in a room with a ton of people. So that's something I learned from reflecting on earlier experiences that I had, is, don't rush that process. Don't get overly excited just because somebody wants to do your show that you're really excited about. Really take the time to get to know them and interview and see that this is a match before you step into the process. Because it can be, there's a lot of responsibility in that, is what I'm trying to say. That, there's a room full of a lot of other people who are giving a lot of their time to the project, and you want to make sure that time feels valued as it should be.
I very much appreciate these thoughts. You explained it beautifully. What would be a Miles thing that an audience would say after seeing a show that you have directed? Like, what would be your signature on a piece?
Yes, this has been an important part of the grad school process for me, is understanding who I am intrinsically as an artist. We make a lot of work. There's 6 of us in the program, I should say. So you're constantly watching other people's work and analyzing what they do and recognizing signature traits in how they approach it, and then hearing what people say about your work and getting that reflected back to you was a huge piece of information for me. So I think my work tends to be deeply emotional. There's usually a very like soulful aspect to it that is very deeply felt for the audience, which is at times very intense and very dangerous. I think I tend to work on things that have a lot of psychological darkness to them, that allow audiences to explore parts of themselves that they keep very private and tucked away. And so I'm interested in exposing all of that in the work, which I think is what I enjoy as an audience member, is being in this dark space with a lot of other people and knowing that the darkness is, as an audience member, freeing and liberating to feel and experience something for yourself. So that's kind of the work that I enjoy making most, is feeling like I'm working on something that's really exposing the raw nerve of a story and allowing people to have things come up for them that they're not normally thinking about or experiencing in their day-to-day life. Yeah, sound is huge for me. Even when I'm not doing a musical, the music is hugely inspirational to me, and scoring the soundscape of the world and what the music is, not just in terms of the naturalistic aspects of the environment of the story, but the like really emotional undercurrent in an expressionistic way of what is going on within these characters' lives is that speaks to me, because music is just like it's
Do you
just like
compose?
a channel right to my chest.
Nice.
No, I have not composed. I play the piano. I started playing the piano when I was 5.
But you still play piano, right?
Oh, for myself. I mean,
Okay.
not for people. Just for me. And I studied music theory, and my dad was a rock drummer. And so, there's just been music in my family. And I think being exposed to that at a young age, it's a language, just like anything else, right? So if you grew up speaking 2 languages, it's much more second nature to you than somebody trying to learn a second language in when they're 25. So it's just a part of my ear and my rhythm and
Your soul.
yeah, it's just a part of me that is ingrained. So that is something that for me is a huge channel to understanding story and understanding the emotional landscape of a play